Thank you. So yeah, like I mentioned, let's start with the use cases and implementation of the AI in last years. Like, if you could tell your success stories from your sector, what's going on in the market right now, and maybe let's start with Diederik.
Well, thank you. Good morning, all. Success stories from our market. We are with AdviceRobo. We are working in the market of AI-driven risk decisioning. What you see typically see in banking is that use cases range from marketing, sales, to software development, to R&D. And actually, since a year or two, also risk and legal come into the play of AI, and especially Gen AI. So what we have been doing is with Gen AI, we have been developing SME data lake, pan-European, that our customers, for example, use to expand across countries. And because usually they don't have data from a country that they go to. But with this data lake, which contains over 100,000 SMEs across Europe, they can make models, for example, and it's all based on GANs, so it's Gen AI. So that's one of the success stories that we see. What we also see, and that's from my other company, Ecology Innovations, that's more an AI innovation boutique, is, and I'll show you a slide, is that our customers have an issue, usually in scoping, how to frame the use cases. So most of our customers think too broadly. So if you are working in a bank that works on AI, and the projects take longer than 12 months, then you think too broadly. If there are a lot of leaders involved in your bank on the AI transformation, then you think too broadly. And if you think that you need to redesign your complete IT architecture and data, then you also think too broadly. The other issue is that we also have customers, especially in telecoms also, that think too narrowly. They start running, making use cases, but use cases that won't move the needle. So the challenge is to start at the top with scoping how you really want to have AI impact in your company. And what we learned, and that's, I think, the lesson well, this is the most valuable lesson I had over the past 2 years, is that you have to work from complete customer journeys, domains, so that you get synergy in the developments that you do. You build one success on the other, rather than individual use cases that are not interrelated. So that's from our side.
Yeah, thank you. And then Marcin, what trends are you noticing and what tools you see on the market right now?
Hello, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I won't surprise you if I tell you that the last year belonged to generative AI. I think all of us are aware of this. And it's also not surprising that our main activity was focused about personalized chatbots. However, when you speak about chatbots in the area of banking, we need to take a slightly different approach in comparison to other industries, because we really require accurate answers. Therefore, here, proper framework for constructing those solutions, testing, and accessing the internal knowledge, because we are speaking about personalized chatbot accessing the internal company knowledge, is critical. And sorry for doing this, but I'm a technical person, so I will try to control myself, but sometimes I will try to use some technical jargon. Speaking about chatbots, there is this part of retrieving knowledge. And right now we can observe, and we actually started implementing this kind of solutions, that we transfer from ordinary knowledge retrieval like vector search or search engines that delivers the knowledge for chatbots into more sophisticated solutions like graph knowledge constructions. Apart from chatbots, we leverage generative AI largely for document processing, like, for example, customer claims answering, correspondence handling, even risk documents processing, like trying to identify if, for example, given human-prepared documents are aligned with internal guidelines, and so on. However, recently, like in the recent months, we have observed a tendency that we start leaning towards agentic systems, which are basically chatbots on steroids, having access to external tools, having the ability to calling them, and therefore they are capable of automating custom tasks. So that's about it.
Thank you. And Pavel, you are from the banking sector, and
Yeah.
how is the AI impacting the banking sector, and how it should impact the SME banking sector?
Sure. So maybe a short description of a perspective what Marcin said, that as we know, banking in a way is a specific. So when we look at an AI is a technology that is a technology that needs to scale to build a positive business case. Yeah. So the bigger the scale of the implementation, and the simpler the use case, the simpler the model, the benefit is better. So on one hand side, AI or generative AI, because AI is generally a broad definition or broad area, has an enormous potential to disrupt some businesses, and in many businesses we see a very fast and rapid adoption today, and for those businesses it will be a disruptive technology, whereas for others it will still have a big impact, but where the scale is not so big, the use cases are complicated, the impact will be smaller, more or less, more probably kind of transformative technology, not disruptive one. And if we go into the banking again, into the sector, again, we have huge differences. On one side, we have financial institutions that are monoliners, offer one kind of product, leasing, factoring, I don't know, buy now, pay later, like Klarna. And for them, implementation is easier and the benefits are achievable faster. So adoption there is much faster. And as we go up to this ladder of segmentation, we go through the retail banking, SMBs, SMEs to corporate banking, the adoption curve will just be shifted. I thought about it like with, I don't know, mobile banking. Yeah? Mobile banking was a completely disruptive technology. When you look at the neobanks, retail banking, it disrupted everything. And even today in universal banks like BNP, most of our customers bank with us purely mobile. Yeah. When you look at the SMEs and SMBs, many of them use mobile, but many of them still use traditional internet banking systems. Again, when you look at the corporate customers, they mainly use internet banking or their own ERP systems that are connected with the bank, with a small usage of mobile banking or usage mobile banking for specific purposes. So again, the number of implementations in banking is very wide, but differs a lot among the sectors. So I'm responsible for the SME and corporate banking, so I will mainly focus on the SME market. And based on our experiences, we see like 4 or 5 potential use cases, not potential use cases that we've in fact worked on. The first is connected what my colleague said at the very beginning, so all things connected to the data analytics, I don't know, price sensitivity, next best offer, marketing, and so on. Of course, it has been with us for a number of years with machine learning and simple solutions, but today's technology just gives us a possibility to do it better, to build completely new behavioral models that are created purely by AI. Not that someone defined a segment and then tried to allocate customers to it, but the segment was found out by the AI by itself. The second one is connected with AML and frauds. Again, usage of machine learning, big data has a long history here, but what AI can do here, especially GenAI, it can help us to connect the dots. So before we had to work on structured data, transactions, and so on. Right now we can connect data from multiple sources, I don't know, public registries, customer documentation, UBO registries, so on, very quickly. Then we can, instead of looking for similarities, this is how it worked before. So this transaction was fraudulent, so if this one is similar to the first one, let's check it. We can also look for something this is completely different. And again, maybe this is a fraud, but the model of identifying it is completely different. The third part is connected with all of kind of assistants and chatbots, and here I completely agree with Marcin. The first what banks do, especially in Poland, is to implement those chatbots internally, because the risk is just much smaller than to implement those chatbots externally. Just to give you an example, if employee, based on a chatbot, gives a wrong answer to the customer, this is a single use case. He made a mistake, there's a claim, we give back customer the money or something like that. But when we put a chatbot that will make numerous errors answering the same answer of many customers, this is a systematic problem that our regulator can come in and say, you are not managing your risk properly. So even if 10 people give 10 answers, this is still 10 times multiplies a single case. But when the machine does it, it's a systematic problem. So we focus mainly on the internal chatbots, but I believe this is a completely disruptive thing for corporates. I mean, banks or other companies that employ numerous people, because I believe once the GenAI is with us, it will change forever the way that we train people, because it really makes the process of obtaining knowledge much faster and much better. Of course, then we have a lot of other solutions like those chatbots, like assistants. So what Marcin said, AI can help you write an email to a customer, can summarize a meeting with a customer. This is a very good solution. Can prepare you to a meeting with a customer. Some banks in Poland even use, such solutions to summarize the management board meetings. So before they had to wait.
Yeah, and the notes are actually better than the notes made by assistants. So
because they're done online. If you had an assistant who was sitting there taking notes when 5 people were talking and so on, she had to write it, then work on it and send the note 3 days later. And many people just forget what they were talking about. The AI is just very rapid here. So this is the 3 of them, but I believe that the most important one, and the one that we're facing right now, which brings the biggest challenge, is again that the Gen AI and large language models can help us to work on a huge amounts of unstructured data, and it can help us to build business processes more efficiently. So let's give an example. In many banks in Poland, when we do credit scoring or we have a credit review, we require a certain documents from the customer, not data documents. Because when we require the data, the previous models were just great. But very often, for example, we do require an insurance policy for a machinery, for a building or something like that. And each and every insurance company just has its own template of insurance policy. So it is not very easy to check whether the insurance policy is for a given building, is for a given amount, for a given period, because it's an unstructured document. And GI models are just great of extracting this data from many forms like that. Or an auditor opinion. When our credit analyst in a bigger SME on a corporate segment must go through 20 or 30 pages of the auditor opinion, whether it's positive or not, when GenAI can summarize it in a few seconds. So I believe that the last one is the biggest breakthrough, and I see the most potential need for the banking sector.
Can I comment a bit on this?
Always.
Because it are fantastic use cases, and BNP Paribas also is a bank that really is on the forefront when it comes to AI transformations. We were also part of your accelerator program in France in 2018. Although I disagree with the use cases having impact. So what I see in the world, and I used to be in the board of ING until 2010. I'm currently in the board as a non-executive director of IKEA. And what we see is that banking is not so specific from other markets. Retail, telecoms, banking, we tell ourselves that it's specific. And the consequence of this is that we tell ourselves a story that we need to be very prudent, more prudent than telecom operators, more prudent than retailers, because that's what we believe in. I know there's a lot of compliance. I know 20% of the costs of a bank are in compliance these days. But we miss, I think, the full opportunity to harvest the AI opportunity in Europe. And I think the banks are doing a lot of small things, testing with internal focused chatbots, for example. But why not build a self-learning system together with the regulator? Say, well, we are going to do this for our customers because we want to have impact at scale for all Polish customers or for all German customers.
But aren't banks a little bit like scared of the regulators in Europe?
I think what they are.
In
yes.
States you have like thousands of startups. In China you have the talent and like
So that's why I say we think too narrowly. The European banking system thinks too narrowly. We focus on use cases that do not move the needle. And we do not dare to take real leadership and say, this is something really transformative for all our customers. And we're going to test it, and we include the regulator in it, and we include all other stakeholders that are important in it. But we are going to do this because we want to have impact. So I think it's a culture thing. That's something perhaps we could touch on later.
Exactly.
But Europe is missing the boat. That's, I think, what I see.
Yeah, and if it comes to implementation of the you wanted to add something, Pavel?
Yeah, maybe a short sentence. I completely agree with you. Yeah, but the approach of the regulators in the US or the mindset in the US is just completely different in Europe. Yeah,
exactly.
In the US, in any kind of regulation sector, in medicine, AI, technology, name it, the regulator at first observes the market, gives a lot of freedom to the actors of this market, and then intervenes if needed, and then co-creates the rules with the actors. In Europe, it's completely different. To do anything, at the first regulator steps in and set the rules, and then we as a banks and other players are kind of limited by these rules. I would love to to go to regulator, especially in Poland, and do something with the regulator. But that's just not the mindset of many regulators, not all of them. They say, we cannot say it is right or wrong, it's up to you to do it right, and this is the regulation you have to comply with. So the dialogue with the regulator would be just great, not only on a Polish level, but the European level, because, yeah, we are losing a lot of opportunities. I completely agree.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So let's move to the implementation. So what I've noticed on the market right now is like this hundreds of startups being created almost every week. Like I follow a couple of YouTube accounts, and there is one guy who is like presenting at least 20 startups a week, like cool ones. So he's doing like analysis of them and then presents them to the audience. And what I've noticed is often the companies are having like a salespeople coming to them, and they are saying, oh, we have this amazing tool. We want to sell you that. Like I bet you have this problem of this and that thing in your company. And how we should actually approach the implementation of the AI? Should we find the problem first within the company and then find the solution, instead of like listening to the salesperson and just buying the tool and then finding the problem in our company? So Marcin, let's maybe start with you, and how you think we should approach choosing the supplier?
Well, I think that when we try to introduce a new technology within a company, and I'm not speaking only about AI, this technology really has to have a purpose. So the key observation from my perspective is to have well-defined strategic goals of what we try to achieve, where is the problem, what kind of problem we try to solve. And I strongly agree with what's been said previously regarding this topic. Secondly, when we speak about generative AI or AI, you need to understand, and I'm pretty sure that most of you understand, that there is no such a thing as a standalone AI that can do everything. And this is like a kind of behavior, kind of perspective that we observe while working with the customers. We are often asked about generic artificial general intelligence solutions that can perform any task without being programmed, without any effort nor adjustment. So let me put it extremely clearly. We are not yet there, and we won't be there for a long time. There is no an omnipotent AI solution that can do everything immediately. Therefore, we are rather into leveraging the proper AI tools, because AI is a set of tools and methodologies for a specific problem. And having this problem specified is the key to success. Also, when we speak about generative AI, as I said, it's just a part of a broader field of artificial intelligence. And I'm also sure that most of you are aware that artificial intelligence has been in banking and in finance industry for decades. But we leveraged more classical approaches, more classical machine learning, more classical deep learning. It was applied in the areas where processing large amount of structured data was required, like fraud detection, anomaly detection, pattern recognition, credit scoring, recommendation systems, and so on. So it's not that AI is something new. AI is a set of tools, and its usage depends on the actual need and the actual goal we try to achieve. Therefore, if there is a vendor having a solution and telling that it's great, it's his opinion. We should revise this opinion against our actual needs and actual goals. But I would say this is a pretty common sense, and this is the approach that we take in our daily lives anyway. So just not to lose your common sense and think before investing if the tool you are buying on the solution you are about to implement is actually beneficial for your company.
And Diederik?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there are two types of companies. We work a lot with private equity companies like JC Flowers and others. And what we see in their portfolios is that you have companies that see AI as a potential golden bullet to move the extra mile and well, make the company extremely valuable. Most of these companies are not successful because they are searching for a pot of gold that potentially not is there. The other type of companies is companies that drive business and want to use technology in a broader sense, but AI more specifically, to improve their business. And if you look at your company like that from the top, if your leaders steer it like that, so we are in the business, we work, for example, for a collection company in the UK, which is part of these of JC Flowers Group. They were very old-fashioned in how they ran their business. So we took the complete process of customer engagement, customer support from end to end, and infused it with technology, and where possible with AI, to automate tasks that weren't able to be automated before. Mm-hmm. That's also interesting. In 2017, there was a study of McKinsey. The complete automation potential in the industry was 50%. So we could gain 50% more efficient. By now, it's 85%. And that's because Gen AI came to the world. So we are able to automate much more intelligent tasks now. So if you look at a company like that from the top, then I think what we see is that the culture changes. People are thinking business. People are trying to solve issues that are a hurdle for driving business, for growing business. And I think that's the way to do it. But again, it starts at the top, and the whole company has to think like that and act like that also.
Pavel?
So I represent the bank, so I'm the opposite side. But generally I agree. So we as a bank or any other, company, which is not a tech company or R&D company, does not implement AI for purpose of implementing AI. Yes? So we are implementing this technology to solve a business problem, to achieve a specific defined business goal. And I've been working with technology, between business and technology, for almost 20 years. And what I've learned, and this is just again a common sense, nothing. This is not a breakthrough, that technology is always secondary. It's an enabler. Even if it's a great technology like AI, it's always an enabler. And many companies forget it. So they just think that if we take an existing business process and put an AI component to it on any other, technology which is a hype technology, and blockchain, DLT a few years ago, name it, it will just be a holy grail and solve all the problems. So I believe today we have a great technology, a numerous number of great solutions provided by numerous vendors and providers. So the technology here, I would say, is the simplest thing. But to do it right, you just have to look at the process that is currently existing, and not just purely put technology in it, but completely redesign the process, taking into consideration what AI can give you. And the redesign of this process, the cultural shift, the change of the behavior of the employees, and for incumbent institutions, change of the data model very often beneath it, is much harder and much more important, a key success factor than technology itself. Yes, so it is extremely important. I mean, choosing the right technology and the right vendor, but it's just simply not enough to achieve your business goals or to solve your problems.
Let's stay with you for a second from the security perspective, because people are scared of putting any private data into ChatGPT, of course, but in the bank is even more of a problem. So how we can implement AI tools from the perspective of securing the bank data?
You know, this is an important question. So we have a different kind of data with different kinds of vulnerability attached to it. So when we think about it in a bank, which is institutions that is built on trust and is regulated, we have to be very very accurate and precise on deciding what we can do, what we cannot do. So I believe that today most of the banks, especially in Poland, have a very secure approach. When you go to the US, it's completely different. So we start with using internal data, public data, not like critical, vulnerable data there. Or when we are using this data, we tend to process those data only with well-known, well-established partners. But on the other hand, we're looking for something which is more breakthrough, more risky. But risk, you have to take a risk to earn money. Yeah. So risk is a reward for money is a reward for taking the risk. So, but we also do work with the smaller companies, smaller scale-ups. For example, we have this accelerator program, as you mentioned, in BNP Paribas Group. But we're working with the smaller partners. We just have a different approach. So we tend to use the technology, tend to use the knowledge, maybe not share the data with them at the very beginning, try to do something on premise, then go in a model that we share only part of the data, which is not so secure, and so on. So I believe this is why banking is specific and somehow limited in using of this technology. Yeah?
Okay.
May I add, because I fully agree, and I see a way out coming from technology. Okay, so we do a lot of research with universities in the US and in UK, and one thing that came out of that research, for example, is our synthetic data approach. Synthetic data is a way to create data with partners, for example, that is not traceable to individuals anymore. So that makes it easy to share. We do it within IKEA. If you want to share data between countries, for example, then we use it in a synthetic way. For their loyalty program, the same thing. The other technology, which I firmly believe in, is what we call federated learning. That's what we see in telecoms. So all mobile phones are data centers in itself. And the technology now is in the market that uses the data on the phone collectively. So we can use data from all phones, but the data remains in the phone. So you don't have to share it anymore. And that is also a way to preserve privacy, because the data stays with me, but it's still being used in a collective way without having risks. So that's what I would like to favor. Also look at technologies that help you to share data at scale, because that's what it is actually.
Exactly. And Marcin, from your perspective?
It's great that you brought up this idea of synthetic data, because this is also something that we largely leveraged. For example, when we work on fraud detection system, this is a highly desire to have as much as possible of the high quality data, and generative AI is something that helps us addresses this kind of challenges as well. Secondly, for example, let me come back to the chatbots, for example. When we speak about chatbots, even when we speak about back office operations for banking, where there's still human in the loop, the evaluation of the chatbots is critical. But evaluating chatbot is not a simple thing, because ultimately you would require to have a set of questions and the desired answers. So collecting this kind of data is extremely costly and time consuming. And there comes the synthetic approaches, where you can basically construct the synthetic data set of questions and answers leveraging generative AI. So it might be a little bit funny, but you can actually use generative AI to build generative AI solutions, and that's pretty awesome about this tool.
Okay, so the next topic I wanted to discuss with you is the ESG and environmental issues, because everywhere I'm seeing posts about like do not generate stupid graphics through the AI tools because they use so much like energy and power. And let's be honest, like generating anything actually needs huge amount of power, and really there is like 1,000 prompts probably per second being sent to different AI tools. And what we can do from that perspective, first of all, maybe Marcin, question to you, is that really a problem, or how it affects the ESG and the sustainability problems within the companies?
Well, I think what you just mentioned is mainly related to the mass consumption of the large language models or the generative AI solutions like Midjourney, for example, because it looks like Midjourney to me. Sorry for that. Anyway, when we think about banking, I'm not quite certain if this is such a big deal. Because, look, first of all, the desired number of users is much, much less than, for example, ChatGPT. Secondly, the most costly process of building a generative AI solution is what we call pre-training. We have a model. We have a pretty big, huge actually, infrastructure equipped in state-of-the-art GPUs, and we have tons of data. We have basically all the internet of information that we fed into this model, and this training takes months. When we speak about banks, I'm not sure if this approach is actually required, because this pre-training leads to what we call a foundational model. And those foundational models are already delivered and accessible in different sizes. So you can take the model that is already pre-trained and deploy on your infrastructure. Moreover, you can perform fine-tuning of this model to your specific tasks. Because, well, in banking industry, I'm not sure because I'm not from the bank, but I doubt that if you have like a large language model exposed to banking employees, someone would ask this model about like health advice or like political opinions. It's going to be good at certain thing. It's going to be good in this domain. Therefore, we don't really require those largest models. We just need the model that is specific to its purpose and fine-tune it for our task. And fine-tuning is actually cheap. Let me tell you a story of fine-tuning a large language model that we did last year. We did it on a private customer GPU, which anyone can just go to the shop and buy. And we spent one night fine-tuning this model. So there are effective ways of doing so and adjusting those models for your particular tasks. Therefore, well, my feeling is that, yes, this might be an issue when we are like approaching masses, range of users. But when we use it for specific cases, it's not such a big case. And here comes the reusability. We take a model that is already built. We fine-tune it for our cases. And sorry for technicalities, but there are techniques like adapters, for example, that let you reuse the very same model multiple times without spending huge amounts of money for model fine-tuning.
And Pavel, from your perspective, maybe AI can actually help companies and banks be more sustainable. Maybe it's like a potential in the future.
Yeah, so maybe at first I do agree with Marcin. Yeah? So today we're in the middle of a hype. So we have a huge investment, you have huge usage, and most of this usage is not precise. So we're using AI or generally not as a banks, but as a humanity to solve problems that can be solved with much cheaper, better, more environment-friendly solutions. But I'm quite convinced that as we go past that hype, it will change for a few reasons. One is that, as the stream of the money that goes to the AI will be lower, the prices will just go up. So people will just stand and companies just start using AI where an AI should be used, not trying to hit a sparrow with a cruise missile instead of using a gun. The other case is that I believe that the technology will become more and more efficient. So to achieve the same, we just require less computing, less heat emitted to the atmosphere, and so on. But just to answer your question, I believe that it will help us also to be more ESG friendly, more environmental friendly, because this technology has a numerous use cases that can be used for benefit of the environment. Yeah, for example, it can help us to verify or trace our suppliers or our supply chains and choose the better one, more ESG or environmental friendly. It can help us to make kind of audits of our, I don't know, CO2 emissions, how ESG friendly we are, and possibly propose solutions to be better. So, at the end, it's a technology, and I believe we'll put it to a good use after the hype goes down.
Okay, and Diederik?
Yeah, I do see it as an issue at the moment. There are stories that a search query takes the same energy as the complete energy consumption of a mid-sized village for 2 years. But I see it as a 3-order effect. So the first order is what we discussed, the energy consumption for training these kind of models. The second order is the benefits we take from that. That we can use mobile phones, that we can use chatbots, that we can bring efficiency in our processes. So you have to deduct that again. And then the third order effects are the results of that. So the waste of the phones, for example, if they are end of lifetime. So what we do, I'll show you one other slide. What we do at IKEA is we work with what we call the 7R model, which stands for rethink, reduce, reuse, realign, recover, recycle, and refurbish. And in everything we do, and you see it with realign at the end, in every decision that we make in the company, we decide on, does it support our purpose? What's the impact on the people? What's the impact on the profit, of course, because we are a commercial company? And what's the impact on the planet? And they all should show positive, and otherwise we don't do it. So we moved away from the simple business case decision making towards a more granular framework, which contains this. And in everything that we do, we then rethink our business models. Can we do this differently? Can we do this process differently? That's what you also said, that you have to redesign your processes. How can we put in technology to reduce our energy consumption? Can we reuse our equipment, or can we use reused equipment? If our equipment is end of lifetime, can it be recycled? These kind of things come into play. And that's all part of our climate ambition, to be climate positive in 2045, which is immense for a company like IKEA globally. But these steps are taken continuously in every decision, and that's how we do it. And the other thing is, and then I'll show you this, is that you have to be very clear on what technology you use for what. You don't need Gen AI for everything. You can also use simple econometrics for risk decisioning, for example, because it has to be explainable. It takes a lot less energy than training a Gen AI model. So I think leaders should also know a bit about methodologies, about statistics. When are we going to use what for solving what issue? And this also helps us to reduce our energy consumption, because we are much more tailored in the solutions that we apply for the problems that we apply them to.
And last very quick question. Sorry, Olena, it's going to be 30 seconds longer, probably, my panel. But different way. So tell me, what do you expect is going to happen on the AI market in the next year? And let's check in a year who was the closest to the truth. So Marcin, maybe with you, like one sentence. Maybe
Agents, multi-agent systems with reasoning capabilities and access to external tools, letting you to automate complex tasks.
Okay, Pavel?
I will limit to banking, but I would love to see more and more implementation of the AI with the customer, not internally, but really helping the customer to bank better, to have a better customer experience.
Okay, and Diederik?
Yeah, that's also what I think. We saw also in science a lot of research, generic research about AI. Since last year, it's very much about applications. So I expect that to move to the banking scene as well. So we will see applications at scale, I think.
Diederik, Pavel, Martin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a very
Thank you.
interesting panel, and thank you very much.